Hi, my name is Liz. I am the management assistant at Mill Creek Gardens, south of town here, a greenhouse and plant shop. And at Mill Creek, our mission is that we believe in treating everybody with kindness and that plants and flowers make people happy. So that drives everything we do. Everything that you see here we grew at Mill Creek. We start all of our plants as little plant starts or seeds. We believe in growing them right here in the Midwest instead of getting full-grown plants shipped in. We do get a couple of shipments a year for some larger things that are harder to grow, but for the most part, we grow everything there at Mill Creek. And we are actually expanding our wholesale. We sell wholesale as well as retail. And we're expanding our wholesale to include selling full liner trays to greenhouses and FFA groups and things like that, so that we grow the plants to their plug size, and then we sell those and people can grow them in their greenhouses.
Cool.
So
Including garden vegetables?
So we aren't really doing much vegetables. We have some herbs that we're doing that way.
Okay.
We grow tomatoes and peppers, and we grow some 4-packs of things like cabbage and squash, because people really want those things, but that's not really our specialty.
Okay.
But we do have some. So
Okay.
so yeah. We do grow lots of herbs, and we have herbs usually most of the year. Sometimes there's a little lull in when we have them available, but we do grow herbs and keep them year round, which is kind of nice because it's really nice to have fresh herbs, throughout the year. So, and then for myself, I'm not a Marshfield native. I'm from Kansas. I married my husband, who is a Marshfield native, in 2011, and have been here for 5 years. I'm actually a graduate student. I'm studying to be a licensed professional counselor. So hopefully starting next summer, I will have my license to start practicing. I'm seeing clients now for my internship. So we're going to kind of combine nature and mental health today. So talk about our brain and how plants and nature really support our brain health. So I grew up on a farm, and we had a lot of gardens. My mom did a lot of gardening. She loved flowers. We did lots of vegetables. However, as a typical, teenager, I was like, I'm not going to do this when I grow up. I'm never going to grow a garden, because I couldn't stand how much work it was and all of that. However, when I had children and I found myself, I was a stay-at-home mom at that time, and I had 3 little children, and was very anxious and very overstimulated. And I just found myself craving, I knew I needed to take better care of myself. I knew I wanted to do more things for myself. And I thought, I wonder if I could grow houseplants. Now, rewind to when we first got married, I used to be a plant killer. There's a plant called a snake plant, sometimes called a mother-in-law's tongue.
There you go.
My husband bought me one when we were first married because it had a tag on it that said impossible to kill.
Oh, yeah.
I killed it. I think that's because for snake plants, they can thrive on neglect. And I think that in my mind, I was like, well, I just didn't take care of it enough. But it took a long time to die, but it did die. So I remember thinking, maybe I could take care of plants. Maybe I could. So I put out, this was probably in about 2017, and I just put out a little Facebook post that said, do any of my friends have clippings from plants that I could, get? And because we were dirt poor and I didn't have money to go to a nursery or anything and get plants. So I just put that out there. And I think I had 3 or 4 friends that gave me clippings. One was a pothos, which is this kind of guy here.
Oh.
One was a spider plant, and one was a coleus plant, which is more of an outdoor plant, but she had it indoors and she gave me one. And so I put those in water, and I watched them grow roots, and I very tentatively planted them in soil and very gradually started learning how to take care of plants. I bought herbs from our farmer's market that summer and planted them outside I had this little strip right outside my brick house, and started an herb garden and was growing those, and I felt so much pride in what I was doing, and it really was, that was the same time period that I really started taking better care of myself, better care of my own my own mind and body. And it really was the start for me. I always link my love of plants with the beginning of my growth to be mentally healthy. So fast forward, that would have been in 2017. In 2022, I was not really liking my job that I had at the time, and I was thinking, I wish I could just do something. I have a sister who is a florist, and I thought, I wish I could just go do something with my hands. And Mill Creek suddenly put out an advertisement that they were hiring. So I started working there and learned so much about plants and love working there. Plan to continue there part-time after, even when I'm a fully licensed counselor. So anyway, so that's a little about my background and how plants have really helped me get into a place where I feel more grounded, I feel more like myself, and it's, nature used to be so much more a part of our lives, and really we've gotten so far away from that. It's just like pavement and garage doors and, refrigerator, air conditioning, and there's so little nature in our lives, and you guys are gardeners, but, if you're not intentionally doing that, we just don't get outside. So all of those things, really, science is starting to show, there's research being done showing that all of those things are contributing to stress, anxiety, maybe like lack of focus and concentration, things like that. It's harder for us to pay attention, harder for us to be grounded. We're more worried about the future. We're more, depressed. Really because we don't have nature around us. So one of our missions at Mill Creek is to help people know that when you get your hands dirty and when you bring plants into your life, whether those are outside plants or inside plants, that you are really doing good work for your brain. So research shows that your environment affects your mood. Plants really can contribute to our environment through the air quality. They are constantly filtering the air. Yeah. Some are better than others. For instance, snake plants are exceptional at filtering air quality. And the reason that they are so good at it is they actually don't need the sunshine to purify the air. So they can do it at night and during the day. So they're a good one to put by your bed. Kind of be there cleaning the air while you sleep. They also don't need much light, so they're kind of a good one to tuck in a bedroom too. So this is a syngonium. NASA actually did research on what plants were the best for air quality, for purifying the air, and syngonium was one of the plants they studied and said that it is one of the best. So syngonium, snake plants, and spider plants, I think, were the three that they studied, and they're the three that they actually have up on the International Space Station to help purify the air for the astronauts. So plants have actually they're being researched in these, scientific studies. Okay. To show that. Also, their aesthetics. I mean, they're beautiful. They add so much to a room, to your house, to the front of your house, and I think we don't give beauty enough credit. I think we don't, enjoy things for their full potential as much as we could. I think that it's it's just for show. But no, beauty really does something good in our minds and our brains, helps us feel calmer and happier. And there's a lot to be said for that. We all need a lot more calmness and happiness these days. And then the other thing is actually even another scientific element is that in our brain, so I'm going to get kind of nerdy here. Have you heard of neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins? So those are happy chemicals. They do different things in our brain, but plants they contribute to all of those, but the one I wanted to talk about today was serotonin. Serotonin is responsible for helping you feel rested and at ease, kind of calms your anxiety, calms your stress levels. It's the neurotransmitter that helps you rest and digest, they say. So when you have enough serotonin, your body can fully function properly. And plants actually have been very shown that the color green actually is one of the things that contributes to serotonin production. So when you see green, when you see even the movement of plants, maybe that's the trees blowing, or when you pick up a plant, when you touch it, your brain releases serotonin. And so plants really, truly scientifically do help us. It's not just like, oh yeah, maybe they help. It's like they're really studying and showing how much nature affects our minds. So those are all how they contribute to our environment. Exposure to nature lowers our stress, it increases our concentration, and raises our spirits. So the second thing that plants do is that they really help us with mindfulness, which is kind of a buzzword now, but it is because people are starting to realize that being present in the moment is really important. And if you think even a few generations ago to, where there was much less distraction and we were more focused on the task. If you were doing dishes, you were fully doing dishes. You weren't checking your phone or, you weren't, jump into this or that. It was maybe your kids were interrupting you, but it was much less distracting. Maybe nowadays we might put on a podcast, so we're listening to something, we're checking our, social media buzzed, I have to go look at it, But being fully present in the moment is really important for us as humans, and we've really gotten away from that. And plants can help us with that because they kind of give us that extra thing to take care of, to kind of give attention to. And you do have to be intentional about this. Just a plant existing in your house doesn't just mean you're going to be more mindful. But I like to really take care of my plants. Like maybe it's not every Saturday, but I like to do it on Saturday mornings. I'll go to my plants and, that's usually when I water. I might water in between if I notice they need it. But, that's when I'm going to pick off the brown leaves of my plant. Okay, here's some with spots. I'm going to just pinch those off, take care of them. And when I'm doing this, I'm fully present, paying attention to this. As a gardener, like when you're out there, you're focused, you're digging in the dirt, taking care of it, seeing how it's doing. Oh, look at all those new little leaves, I'm just like doing like that. And that is really, really helpful. And if we're living a lifestyle that is maybe more sedentary, like where we're just, sitting a lot or we're not getting out as much, plants can really kind of give us something to do, to get up and take care of, and really just get us moving. There's different kinds of plants have different kinds of needs. So if you're a person who wants something more to do, you could get a plant that's a little needier, that, grows a little faster, needs a little more water. If you're someone who's like, I just want something that's really basic, I'm gonna get a snake plant, that I can just sit there. I can look at it, I can water it every couple weeks, and it'll be fine. Other things that plants do with mindfulness, like the fragrance. Some plants have such a wonderful fragrance. I think of lavender. I love the smell of mums. That's one of my favorite things about them. It's this kind of spicy smell that they have. Other herbs. So fragrance can be a really big part of mindfulness. And then the other one is propagation, like you were talking about with your cactus. A lot of plants are very easy to make new plants from. So, for instance, pothos is one that's so simple. And I'm always propagating my pothos, and they're always growing like weeds. So you can cut or pinch off your leaves, your pothos leaves, put these in water, and within a couple weeks, they're growing roots, and you can give them away. You can make new plants for yourself, But that's another way that plants help us, is that they connect us. When you're growing a garden and you're able maybe to cut flowers and give to a friend, or if you choose to give away a plant, or maybe you buy a plant you're like, I love this plant. This friend would, really love this plant too. So you go buy that plant for the friend. And so plants can really help us feel connected to others. I think of plant exchange groups, those exist where people get together and, exchange plants, or things like that. Like there's so many neat ways that nature connects us and helps us to be mindful and be present with what we're doing. So then I wanted to talk just a little bit about plant care, because plants all have different needs. And I think that's one of the things we miss when we are just learning about plants. We think maybe that, I got to water it every day, or I've got to, make sure it gets tons of sun. Because we know even from when we were a kid learning science, like sunshine, water, soil, that's what they need, right? And that's true, but all plants have different needs. So, for example, this is kind of a funky aloe vera plant that we have at Mill Creek. Leaf fall there. He grows in the desert in his natural environment. He has thick leaves that hold water. And so he is not going to need water nearly as often. But those guys would probably like a more well-draining, sandy soil. They also do find it a regular potting soil as long as you're not overwatering them. The thing with the sandy soil is that the water drains out faster, and so that's why but if you're paying close attention, you can, make sure that they're not getting overwatered. So those are some that are like, they don't need so much water. They do like a lot of light. So that's one thing to keep in mind. People will often say, oh, I'm a terrible plant parent because I killed these succulents, because society and marketing has told us that succulents are easy to grow. And every plant has its own quirks, and succulents are very easily overwatered, and in Wisconsin it's very easy for them to not get enough sunlight. So don't feel bad if you've killed a succulent. It does not mean you're a bad plant parent. It just means that you probably overwatered it and didn't give it enough sun. So then some maybe middle of the road ones. This is a peperomia plant. We have lots of varieties of those. They're so easy to grow. But again, you can overwater them. So the thing that we always talk about at Mill Creek is plants, almost all plants like a wet, dry cycle. Because if you think about nature, it's not raining every day. And the plants that do like more moist are the ones that grow on the forest floor. You think of ferns, some that grow in the rainforests, they might like more water. Right. But most plants in general like the soil to dry out. And what happens when the soil dries out is their roots then have to grow looking for more nutrition. So if you overwater, chances are your roots are not going to be very strong. So you want to give your plant time to dry out. So often what we see with peperomia is people also overwater these. But these guys are fun. There's lots of quirky little different styles, and they're usually a pretty simple one. They don't mind lower light. They also like bright light. So it's and if you have a peperomia and you wonder what these little funny stick things are on it, those are actually its flowers. Here's a monstera, Swiss cheese plant, sometimes called. Maybe you've seen that. Yeah. These are fun. Monstera can grow really big leaves. Maybe you've seen the really large monstera plants. Yeah. Or you can get ones that are smaller. And these are kind of a fun one that are a little bit smaller, and they're vining, so you could train it to go up a trellis. Again, those kind of things are like fun things you can do with your plants that give you that mindfulness and that like stress relief if you're taking care of something. This is another peperomia, like this guy. You can see it's very different, but its growing habits are really similar. Okay. Let's see. I brought in a few that like more water because I know that sometimes when you are home, not getting out quite as much, it's nice to have something that you need to take more care of. And so some plants like these calathea, these ones really do need more water. And I brought this guy in because he's a little unruly and needs some care. So I'm just going to show this is an example of something these ones they get a lot of new leaves. And a lot of their leaves have a very short lifespan, so it's they're nice ones that you can take care of, give a little more love to, that kind of thing. This is called a cat's mustache.
Is that a praying plant?
Yes, it is. Yeah, one of those ones that
Okay.
Fold up.
There's something, there is a little mechanism in the base of the leaf that is receptive to light. So when the light goes away, they can fold up. Yeah. And they're all a little bit different with how much they do that. Some of them do it more than others. Oh. But yeah, this guy is as well. I brought the string of bananas because I think this is a more classic plant. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. I know my grandma had some of these. growing in her house, but they have these little leaves that look like bananas. We have ones that look like dolphins, ones that look like pearls. There's different fun ones. String of turtles, string of watermelon, a lot of different fun ones. Those are kind of fun to take care of. So plants need different amounts of light, different amounts of sunlight, different amounts of water, and they also all need fertilizer. That is another typical problem. People say, well, my plant's looking kind of sad. And first question we ask is, have you fertilized it? So plants need 17 nutrients in order to thrive, and they only get 2 from water and sunlight. So they really need that extra food. If you plant them in a really healthy soil, that can last for a while, but then eventually they use that up. So it's really nice to add the extra nutrients to the plants. So and so then if we kind of go back to, well, what else can plants kind of do for us? And we have these, maybe we take one into our home. How is it helping us? Plants can give us comfort and companionship. Living alone can be, just lonely, right? And sometimes it's nice to just have something else that's alive. They are doing research as well on pets, that people who have, a companion pet, a dog or a cat, that they are living longer and having a happier, life. Plants and pets both. And again, like we were talking before this started, maybe they stress you out, so maybe you just have the wrong kind of, maybe you're trying to take care of a plant that just keeps dying because you don't know exactly the care that it needs. Right. So maybe you need an easier plant, or maybe you have one that you really like watering, but you're giving it too much, so you need one like a fern or a calathea that needs more water, So I think if something's causing you stress, instead of just like letting it cause you stress over and over again, take time to figure out, okay, what's the stress point here? And then solve that point. And then you can start to maybe benefit from it. So I think of our dog who has a lot of anxiety, and we keep talking about, let's get him some training, because if we were to get him some training, then he wouldn't have that anxiety, and we would be able to, the thing that is stressful about owning a dog then can maybe be alleviated, The nice thing about plants is that, like, loving plants and nature, it's not complicated. Maybe sometimes there is more care that they need, but if you figure that out and you got a plant and you water it, you have a schedule, it's doing great, it's not complicated. You don't have to worry about your relationship with it. You don't have to worry about if it is misunderstanding you, or, there's no generational divide, between you and a plant. It's simple and it's not complex. And that can be really comforting. Caregiving gives us a sense of purpose. All of us need something to care for, to live for. When we take care of things, it really reminds us that we matter, that we're worth taking care of, so we can take better care of ourselves. That was a big piece of when I was, a young mom, learning how to take care of plants. That was a big piece of it, was that, oh, okay, I can take care of my plant. That means I can also take care of myself. I can shower when I need to. I can get out of the house when I need to, eat healthy foods. It kind of started that process and really helped me understand, oh yeah, I matter too, just like my plants matter. And nurturing plants really does stimulate your mind, and it gives you something to hold on to, something to keep going. And whether that's your outside garden, whether that's your indoor plant, whether that's your whole collection of indoor plants, whatever it is, it's, that keeps you motivated, keeps you getting out of bed every morning. I'm going to enjoy this today. I'm going to enjoy life a little more today because I'm connected to nature. And it's really beautiful how our brains work, how we work in nature. And I'm really excited to share this with you today. Thank you for listening. And come to Mill Creek and buy a plant if you'd like. We love helping people pick out the ones that are right for them. So thank you. Do you have any questions?
Well, I'll make a comment about plants.
Yeah.
No matter what the label says, if you put it in that window and it doesn't seem to like it,
yes,
try a different room,
yes,
try a different window. kind of
100%.
ignore full sun versus full shade to a point, because every
Yeah.
house is different.
Exactly right.
Temperatures are different.
Exactly. I have a corner in my kitchen. It's an northeast corner with a plant rack. And if I have a plant in my house I've put somewhere and it's not thriving, I often will just stick it on that shelf because the plants seem to really enjoy that shelf, and then they can rehab a little bit there. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to try it somewhere else, see if it gets more light, or,
Yeah.
people will say, oh, I have a south window. So do I. However, I have an overhang and I don't get much light in through there. So it's not just the technical,
Right.
you have to really just pay attention. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah,
Everything grows where it wants to.
exactly.
You
And
just-
go ahead.
You just got to figure that out.
Yeah, and you have to know what you do well with.
Right.
There are certain plants that I won't bring home because I know my busy lifestyle, I can't take care of them enough,
Okay.
And that's just me. I could take care of them at the greenhouse because I work there and I know exactly what they need. But when I bring it home, whoops, it did not have what it needed, or it was shocked and I didn't have enough time to pay attention to it. And, so I'm a big pothos lover. These guys, they can go for weeks without being watered usually, and they start to slowly wilt. So you are like, oh yeah, they need water. And then a week later, you're like, oh yeah, I better water them. And then you water them and they're fine. So that's a big one that lives in my house. I have 4 or 5 varieties of that. And I also like plants that grow quickly, so you can kind of see how much they grow. And pothos are ones like that. One week it's like this, the next week it's like this. And if it's too much, you can just trim it off and throw it away. You don't have to propagate it, So yeah, so.
The other thing I've noticed in our house is, no matter why you brought the plant in, you will talk to it.
That is
Like it
true.
or not, you will sometime talk to it.
Yeah, that's
And-
Maybe
true.
even complain to it, but you
And
will
com-
talk to it.
And threatening. I've done that, and guess
Yes.
what? The next week it just pops up because you're not getting rid of me.
Like, oh, I guess I better straighten
Yes.
up here. Yeah, I know. I brought a syngonium home, one of these, because I saw about the air purification, and it was really big and lush. It was like this. It was in a small pot, and I put it in a hanging planter, and I didn't water it enough because they like a lot more water. And so I did a few things. I repotted it a few times, and it hasn't looked as great as it did at the greenhouse, but I've been amazed at how long it's lived. And I think I'm just like, well, that one needed me to mess with it quite a bit to get it happy, and it's not quite happy yet, but oh well, it's still purifying the air.
There you go.
So,
What about, I'm just curious, I do a lot of herbs,
yeah,
and, you don't want to leave them outside.
yeah,
You can bring them in.
right.
What's the difference between how do you keep them growing better inside
Yeah.
in the winter?
Well, they're going to need a lot of sunlight inside, so I just put them in the sunniest place in your house. And then the other thing too is that they may not grow a lot. They might just kind of stay alive during the summer or during the winter. They might not put out a lot of new leaves because they really like that heat and the sun. So I would say the sunniest place in your house, and herbs also like a lot of water. And what happens is, but they don't want to, be too wet. So that's kind of what you'll need to see how much sun they get and how fast the soil dries out. But that I think is a lot of times they just kind of need a lot of both. You have to adjust. If you don't have a lot of sunlight, then just adjust your water and don't give them that much water. And then they'll kind of be maybe more dormant during the winter. And then when you put them back out again, they should still do good. So
Should you cut them back when you bring them in to let them kind of start over?
that might shock them, honestly, if you do too much cutting back when you bring, we always recommend just one thing at a time. So I don't know. I guess that's a good question I haven't done a lot of research on, but I would think maybe not do too much to them when you bring
So
them in.
maybe bring them in, and as they die back, trim
Yeah.
them.
That's what I would think, yeah. Something more like that. So,
The
yeah.
one thing I think I'd like you to walk through for the masses, heard this conversation just yesterday amongst 2 people. One was, oh, I just learned we should only water my plants from the bottom.
Oh, sure.
But when they're planted outside, the rain comes from the top.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that, so
Yeah.
explain that, please.
Yeah. That is kind of a funny thing. People have a lot of different theories and thoughts about it, about watering plants, and everyone has different things that work for them. Like you were saying, banana water, you figured out a system with that. Not everyone can make that work, and that's not something as a greenhouse that I recommend because I don't have a lot of experience with it, right? So when it comes to watering, bottom watering can be great. Some plants, their leaves are pretty sensitive, so they don't like water on their leaves or their flowers. Like when we water our mums, we water them at the base because it tends to make their flowers brown. But if they get wet, I mean, and not every mom does this either, but in general. So other plants I know some that people do are begonias, and African violets. People like to water those from the bottom because their leaves are more sensitive. In general, I think plants can kind of tolerate both, water, some people like to dunk their succulents or cactus, they will just put them in a whole bucket of water, and that can kind of mimic the way that the rain kind of torrential downpours on them in the desert. So yeah, I think that there's probably a little bit less, oh, you got to do that with plants than people seem to think. It really is, it's not a hard and fast rule at all. And like you said, most plants get rained on. So, I mean, almost all plants get rained on. I think of jungly plants, say the monstera. Some of these really like humidity, so they like to be misted a little bit. I mean, but they can also do okay without the misting, So plants are kind of how nerdy do you want to get with them, They really are. And they can be very sentimental too, so people can kind of get really, really connected to their way of taking care of their plant. And sometimes it doesn't work for every single plant the same. Right. So, yeah.
I know she has some self-sowing marigolds
Oh,
and some moss roses, and
Yeah.
she's got them in pots outside the garage.
Yeah,
Well, the rain never gets there.
sure.
So when we do think of watering them, it's like you pour it in until
yeah.
it flows through and the tray is
Yep.
full and it goes overflow, and then you're done for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it really is, I think, kind of knowing what makes your plant happy.
Yeah.
And there are people who keep buying the same plant over and over again because they really want to succeed with that plant. And kudos to them, but also don't put that stress on yourself if you don't want it. If you want to try something different, then try something different. So.
Do you have special lights that you can have for indoors at the store?
Yes, we have one kind of light bulb that is kind of a one that you just put in your lamp or your light, and then it just kind of, the light that it puts out is a different type of UV ray. So we have that one. We don't have a lot of special ones. You can get them for sure, but we have one kind there. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Snake plants are I always like to tell this story. My son has a room in the basement that does not have a window, and he has snake plants in there. And every few weeks, we just bring them up to the bathroom for a few days. Here's your son, and then we bring him back. He brings them back down, and they thrive. So they're kind of a neat one if you're like, I really have very little light, or there's a spot I want to put something and I don't have any light. Then a snake plant's a good one to kind of put in there.
I have one in our living room by our steps. I always keep it, I've changed plants around there, which ones like the sun and which ones don't. And he's just fine where he is. He doesn't get a lot of direct sun, but he gets light.
Yeah.
And I guess he likes it. And I have learned that I got to not water that.
Yeah.
Because then the outside ones, it's like, why is it dying? It's like,
Yeah.
I must be watering it. So
Yeah.
I've learned that.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
This one I brought too it's called we call it a ZZ because that's for short for it's Zamophilicus is the name of it. But it's very easy, low light, low watering plant as well. So that's another fun one.
How tall does that one get if you?
Yeah, they can. So we sell them in that size, and we sell them in the 10-inch size when they're this big by that time, but from the pot up. And then they can just get big. So kind of depends on how much light they have. The more light they have, the faster they grow. So yeah. So yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I brought this